right, greetings, welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 101, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios, downtown Wheeling, as we get ready for another busy football week on the Watchdog and with the Pine Room guys. We got tons going on. Keep you up to date as always, and it's a never-ending battle here as we battle on to our fifth week of action in the high school ranks over in Ohio, and then the fourth week in West Virginia. So we got lots coming up there. We'll have our Watchdog second hour of the program. Will be you can listen to it live on the Watchdog. So if you want to flip over there at 5 o'clock, you don't even have to wait for the podcast, or you can continue on the podcast where you're listening to the first hour of the show at our YouTube page or at Spotify, Amazon, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate you listening to Bettor's Last Stand, as we're now 101 episodes deep here as we begin the middle of September already. It's hard to imagine as we embark on NFL week number 3. That'll be coming up later in the program, as well as college football week number, I guess it's 4 for the college guys. Yep, for the first full 4 weeks. We had week 0, of course, so it was really 5th week of action, but the 4th week of all the teams playing. We're going to talk a little baseball, do some racing here. Sam can't join us again, unfortunately. He's got work conflicts once more, so I know how that goes, and it can be very frustrating. So hopefully Sam gets his stuff organized at work, and he can get back to it with us here as we head down to the NASCAR final 7 races of the season. So we're excited about that. We'll talk a little bit about NASCAR F1 and wrap up IndyCar for the series here, or for the season, I should say, here on Bettor's Last Stand, and we'll talk, of course, soccer, CFL, Aussie Rules, and all the good stuff in the second portion of the program. Just do 2 parts since Sam is not able to join us. So we put the racing in the first part, but that's okay. We got lots to talk about. We had a good week, and racing was at the forefront of it. We were up over 45 units, 45.4 units. That's a really strong week. Take that any time that you absolutely can. When you can get a plus 45 unit week, you'll take it any way you can get it. That is no doubt. And at the forefront, as I said, it was Chris Buescher taking it home in the Watkins Glen race. We talked about him last week on the show briefly, and was a guy who had run really well at Watkins Glen in the past, and he used some strategy late, got the lead, looked like he was going to get passed by Shane Van Gisbergen, but he was able to hold on, and he cashes at a big price. I had him at 42-1, but I saw him listed anywhere from 30 because he didn't qualify that well. So he was posted early on around 25-1 the last week we taped the show. Then he went up to 30 at a lot of places, but I found him at 42-1 on FanDuel, so I was able to cash in on that one. Hopefully you were too. We had those all posted in plenty of time for you to search out the best prices on BLS_PRP, where you can follow us on X. So Chris Buescher gets the job done at between 30 and 42-1. 42 was the best that I had found, and fortunately I was on the right side of that. Recapping our other action that got us over the 45 units this week, EPL 7-1. So the round football treated us very well. I had very good feelings about those matches last week, and hopefully you were able to listen to those in the Watchdog portion of the program and cash in on some of those winners. The cards, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the Arsenal and Spurs match. I mean, that was an absolute cigar smoker, which I'll elaborate on here in a few moments. AFL, Aussie Rules, strong there again, 3-1, and we got all 3 of our futures alive into the preliminary finals. Again, we'll talk about that in the second hour of the program as well over on the Watchdog. And, yeah, we're excited about that. We got Geelong, we got Port, and we got Brisbane all alive here going into preliminary finals, which is basically the semifinals. So we got 3 of the 4 teams left. And I'm sure we won't cash, but we'll try. We're going to try. We had some tickets to make the final as well, so hopefully those can come in. We'll at least get one of those home. We'll see how that one goes. See, CFL's where we were terrible. 0-3. Oh, just some whatever way we went up, it went down. We went down, it went up. So not a good week of the CFL, but that's all right. You can't win them all. College football, 11-13. Again, a little bit below 500, but we did have the Memphis winner, which is a money line winner, which is plus over $2. Still can't figure out how Florida State's favored in a game like that at that price. Memphis with the easy wire-to-wire win there against Florida State. Let's see. Our best bet, Ole Miss, comes in, so we finally cash a best bet in college. We were 1-2. We had started out 0-2 after Cincinnati blew their terrible lead against Pitt 2 weeks ago. That one stung. NFL, we were 8-6, so profitable there in the NFL, and we won our best bet again there. Indy and Green Bay under, a cigar smoker. So we're 2-0 in our NFL best bets, and to be quite honest with you, those have been really easy. Like, they were two strong best bets, and they covered the whole way. Like, you had no concerns about them really from start to finish. So that's the kind of best bets you want here on Bettor's Last Stand. F1, we had George Russell in the top 3. It was a plus 330 there, so he didn't get the win, but he ran pretty well. We were no good on our other F1 bet there of the Ferrari double top 6, but that was going to cash until a late accident, so that was a little bit frustrating. IndyCar, our final race of the year, Scott McLaughlin, Kyle Kirkwood, both with top 5 there. So we get at least half of our unit back with those guys, both at plus prices to finish in the top 5. Or actually, McLaughlin was a little bit of a minus price. Kirkwood, a top 5. He finished 4th, and he was a plus price. So a good one there. And as we said, Busher cashes at 42-1, 30-1 range. Whatever you were fortunate enough to get it at, hopefully you cashed in on that one. Let's talk a little baseball as we get down to just about a week and a half left of the season. It's hard to believe, but things are starting to come to fruition here. But you got some teams kicking and screaming here, trying to get in. You got the Tigers now making a push in the American League. The Mariners hanging on, the Red Sox hanging on in the American League, while the Twins starting to leak a little bit of oil, which wouldn't bother me at all because they're a very frustrating team to me. I can never figure them out at all. Jekyll and Hyde, I just can't figure out the Minnesota Twins. So you have them starting to leak a little bit. The other teams coming alive. Just a last-ditch effort to try to get to the finish line here. And then in the National League, it's basically down to 2 teams. It's the Mets, it's the Braves. Really, nobody else has an outside shot. I guess if the Cardinals keep this series sweep of the Pirates up, potentially they're still alive, but they almost have to win out or at least go like 10-3 or 9-3 or 9-2 to have a chance, and that's going to be a lot. But looks like it's the Braves and Mets there to hash it out for the final spot in the National League. Some interesting pennant odds. I mean, we still have those future tickets on the Padres. They're again, they're 6-1 to win the National League. I still think that's a fair bet. Milwaukee has impressed me a little bit. I still don't understand how they're good, but they're very businesslike and they're getting things taken care of. They're playing clean games, and they're 8-1 to win the National League pennant. And then you got Arizona sitting there at 10-1. I have no faith in the Braves and the Mets, really. I have a little bit more faith in the Braves than the Mets because they've been there before. Got some timely hitters on that team. Mets, no. Dodgers, going to be tough to get around that lineup, but can their pitching hold up? That will be the question. In the Phillies, possibly the best all-around team, but still a little bit concerned about that. I think the Padres and the Brewers at 6 and 8-1, still really good bets in the National League. In the American League, I have no faith in the favorite, the Yankees. I just can't believe they're favored. I know there's nobody else to favor right now because the Orioles have went in the tank basically, and they stink. Which I told you a few weeks ago that seems to have been happening. I still think Houston plus 330. They're the team to beat in the American League. If they get in, they will be very hard to stop. Kansas City though, in a series which is going to be built on pitching and defense, and they got Bobby Witt, they could win a series. So don't count out the Royals either. In the Guardians, I hate calling them that. The Indians. The Indians plus 475, 5-1 range. I think they got a shot. And if Brad's Mariners, B-Mac's Mariners can make it into the playoffs, I'm telling you, they're going to have a shot. They've got a Rosarena. They're going to have him as an X factor in a pressure-packed situation, which most people can't play in. He can, and I like their shot. So we'll see what happens next week, see who's in and who's out, and then we can start to maybe throw together some more World Series exactas. We gave some of those out last week as well, posted those, BLS_PRP. We posted those several weeks ago, back around the trade deadline, I believe. WNBA, we get the playoffs starting this week. The Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark clinched the 6th seed, so I'll probably have some series plays on those. They start this weekend, so check those out, BLS_PRP. Regular season concludes last night for you listeners. Be Thursday of this week. So that's the final play date. Indiana is the 6th seed. Looks like they're going to play the Sun most likely. Tough matchup, but maybe they can steal a game off them. I don't know. But have some futures there and some. Right now, in my opinion, I still think Vegas is probably the best team when they want to play. So I think if you can get them at a little bit of a value, being like the 4 seed, I mean, that might be worth something. So we'll take a shot maybe with them, but I'll look those over once everything gets finalized tomorrow night or last night if you're listening to this on Friday. We'll have the field set. The field will be set for the WNBA playoffs, so we're excited about that. And WNBA action also, let me pass this tidbit along. Portland awarded the 15th franchise in the WNBA, and they will begin play in 2026. Great. Just what we need, another disgusting mess of a city. Portland having a team. So I don't know. I wish those people were the best, and it's a beautiful area, but the city's just in disrepair. It's a third world country, sadly. But hey, why not have a WNBA team there? It'd be perfect. Just keep pushing that agenda. That's why we need all the Caitlin Clark we could get here in America. She is. It's nice to see something pure. A girl who just actually cares about the game, is an incredible ambassador, great leader, and just a super role model. Just can't say enough about her. She's grown it through some phases of, temper tantrums. She's always been the best, and now she's had to adjust, and she's playing, and she's on equal ground with a lot of these girls now. She is probably the most talented player out there most nights, but just a growing pain for a professional now, newly minted professional. She's done a great job, so commend her, and we look forward to seeing her future in the Indiana Fever. Will be a contender, I would say, next year. They're about a piece and a half away from being a legit semifinal type contender. Golf, we're overseas once more. We're at the, I think it's a BMW, another BMW tournament over in, I want to say it's in England again. So we're staying over in the UK. It's the DP World Tour event. I'm not giving anything out on it. This time of year, a lot of guys they're working on their games a little bit just to keep it in form. Obviously the purse money, you're going to see some strange winners, but not focused on golf here. There's too many other things to put our minds toward. Racing, we spoke about that earlier. IndyCar finishes up. Alex Palou wins the title for the second straight year. Colton Herta, the winner at Nashville in the season finale. We cashed a couple tickets there with Scott McLaughlin and Kyle Kirkwood, both with top 5 finishes. So that concludes our season of IndyCar. We had some good days and some bad days there. We have actually cashed a few decent tickets there. We had the back-to-back winners at Iowa. We had a winner a few weeks ago at, I want to say, Milwaukee Mile. So, yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad year at all. Had some bad luck, of course, in the Indy 500, which could have paid out pretty well, but that's the way it goes. F1, Oscar Piastri finds his way to the top of the podium in Baku, so he takes the Azerbaijan Grand Prix last week. An impressive drive by Oscar Piastri, and you kind of knew early on in the race that he was going to be a force to be reckoned with. He looked just the strongest all day long and was the deserved winner. Led 32 laps. He overtook Charles Leclerc, and Leclerc ran well, a strong second, but he wasn't going to get past Piastri. Ferrari, the double top 6. Oh, that was messed up really badly when Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz got together about lap 49 or so, lap 50. Disaster for us there as they clipped tires and clipped wheels and sent them both out of the race. Really irresponsible job by both guys there, not being aware at a late stage. Perez needed the run. He was running great. Sainz was running well also, and just really frustrating if you're Red Bull and Ferrari there, as you're fighting for constructor championships here now with McLaren and Mercedes, and you're giving away points like that by crashing each other in the very last stage of the race. Nonetheless, a good run by Oscar Piastri, and again, the McLaren's very strong. George Russell cashes for us with a top 3 for his Mercedes. He gets up into the 3rd spot and beat Lando Norris by about 5 seconds. So Mercedes ran well last week. I thought maybe if Piastri and Leclerc would have maybe collided the way that Perez and Sainz did, then that was going to open it up, because I thought that George Russell had the 3rd best car in the race. So good run by him. Now we go to Singapore. Interesting one here. The Marina Bay Circuit. It's a street circuit here in Marina Bay, Singapore. Should be a good one. This is one of the races that Max Verstappen's never won, and I wouldn't expect him to do it here now. He's not ran great. He was 5th last week, but struggle to find speed again with the Red Bulls, and they keep working it out. I know that they're thinking that they're on the right track there, so I do think we'll find him back on top of the podium before the end of the season, but I don't think it's going to be this week. He's 9-1 now. Lando Norris, your favorite again at plus 175. Oscar Piastri at plus 350, and we talked about this with Sam at length several shows ago, back maybe early to mid part of the season. Is my question to him was, is Piastri starting to get to be the number 1 driver of McLaren? Because I think the guy's improving leaps and bounds. It took Lando Norris a few years to get this good, to go with the equipment. Piastri's doing this in his 2nd year. I'm completely impressed with this guy. He is the next superstar of the sport, if you ask me. And to me, if you're going to take a shot with the 2 McLaren guys, obviously Norris has the experience on these different circuits for, having some more laps under his belt, no doubt about that. But at plus 350 versus plus 175, I would take the shot with Piastri again this week if you're going to like the McLarens. Now you got to check out the qualifying. Be sure that everything is in check. They don't have any penalties or they have a crash or anything like that. I do think that the Ferraris have been running really well too. I thought double top 6 for them last week was a winner. It's going to be till the very end. I like it again this week. You got Leclerc at 350 and Sainz at 7-1. Both those guys contenders here. I think that they both have a shot of hanging around in this race and perhaps even winning it. And we'll see again. Carlos Sainz. We'll see again about how they qualify because that's obviously an important part. Carlos Sainz won this race last year in Singapore, and he led 62 laps. He took the pole position, and he did not relinquish it. So a really strong run for him. So don't count out these Ferraris. I'll be taking a little peek with Sainz probably. Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton finished out the podium last year, but it's wide open here. You got McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari. Won 1, 2, 3 last year. No Red Bull in sight, and you got these teams even stronger this year. So if you wanted to take a shot with a Mercedes this week, I couldn't talk you off of it. Both George and Hamilton, both 16-1. I thought Russell is trending in the right direction, but I'm on the Ferraris here, and I think Piastri will be very, very strong. I'll post my final picks at BLS_PRP. You can check that out on Twitter or X, and I'll get anything that Sam may have that he may like for the weekend as well. Piastri ran 7th in this race last year if you were interested in that. So he definitely, in his first trip to Singapore, he ran a strong 7th. And, that's just such a learning curve trying to get all that digested and keep your car out of the wall or the tires or another car. So hats off to Piastri for continued progress as he continues to shine as a young second-year driver on the F1 circuit. All right, over to NASCAR we go. Wow, Chris Buescher gets the job done for us last week in impressive fashion. He leads 19 laps. He took most of those late in the race. So it was a strong performance. He didn't have the best car all day long, but that's okay. He made the adjustments he needed to make. He got the job done when he needed to. His pit crew did a really good job getting him in position, and he was able to edge out Shane Van Gisbergen and win at Watkins Glen. Carson Hocevar was second, Ross Chastain third, Zane Smith fourth, Chase Briscoe, Michael McDowell, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, Austin Cindric. How about that top 10? A lot of drivers that we play here on Bettor's Last Stand, and that's the thing about NASCAR now. You have a very, very, very wide gap of racers that can win these races, and I think that's something that you should be excited about if you're a NASCAR fan, because you got a lot of contenders each and every week. And speaking of each and every week, on to Bristol we go here. The Food City 500 was what we did in the spring. This will be the Bass Pro Shops night race. Been to this race many, many times. One of the most exciting races on the circuit. Now it's a playoff race, and man, that place just comes alive. So if you haven't checked out a race on TV at Bristol, 7:30 Eastern on Saturday night, you're going to want to check it out. It's beautiful. Colors under the darkness, under the lights. It's absolutely electrifying in every facet. Denny Hamlin, defending champion of this race. He won the spring race here as well, so he has won the last 2 races here at Bristol. Can he keep it up? Bristol's a place where you need some luck, and a lot of times you're going to get spun, you're going to get wrecked, you're going to have issues. It's a bangers track. Like, guys are hitting on each other's doors and on their rear spoilers the entire race. So it is literally like gladiator battles in there in the Bristol Motor Speedway. Can Denny Hamlin keep it rolling? I don't know. I can't take a shot at plus 380 with him. I know he's been dominant here, but you got to figure at some point he's going to get collected. He's going to get spun. Something's going to go wrong. You can't. It's just like the super speedway tracks. If you escape the wrecks time and time again, eventually they're going to get you. So the longer you go on top, the more likely you are to come crashing down. Some guys that I'm very interested in. I got a gut feeling. I don't get these very often, but I have a little bit of a gut feeling this week. I'm not saying that he's going to win, but he ended up being my top winner's choice because it was the feeling. I couldn't get off of this gut feeling for Ryan Blaney. He's won here before. He's ran very strong here before at Bristol. I like his setup. I like the way that he comes alive in the playoffs. He's very, very good, stable, consistent racer. I like Ryan Blaney this week at 17-1. He will be my top play at the Bass Pro Shops night race. Some other guys, though, that are very interesting to me. The Toyota contingent of Chris Bell and Ty Gibbs. We've been on those guys a couple of times. You got Ty Gibbs around 9-1, Chris Bell around 6-1. I thought the Toyotas would win last week. didn't get the job done. A Ford. How about it? At least the only Ford that we played and the only Ford we gave out last week was Chris Buescher, and he got the victory lane. We talked about Chevys. We talked about Toyotas. We didn't even talk about the Fords other than the Buescher had been extremely consistent at Watkins Glen for a guy not known to be a road racer. He gets the job done at 42-1. Let's see if that can happen again this week. We got Keselowski, another Ford. It could be strong, and Buescher again. Both of those guys. Keselowski, he's 10-1. Buescher 15. Probably tough to win back-to-back races in NASCAR with this crop of drivers. It is just really, really hard. Brad Keselowski, though, interests me. He's had 3 straight top 10s here. He's been knocking on the door, and I would not be surprised if he saw Brad. He's got the driving style that would work very well at Bristol. He's aggressive. He's not going to get pushed around. So if 10-1 interests you, Brad Keselowski's your guy. Back to the Toyotas, though. Bell, Gibbs, both going to be really strong. Obviously, Hamlin. Truex has had success here before, 15-1 range. Any of those Joe Gibbs racing cars probably going to be serious contenders here. But I'm on Ryan Blaney. I also got to talk about the Hendrick guys again. Getting ignored a little bit in the odds. William Byron, 18-1. Chase Elliott, 17-1. Alex Bowman, 40-1. They've all ran well here. They've all had strong top 5s, top 10s, beating down the doors, ready to win. I think maybe Byron won here. And Elliott had a win locked up here a few years ago, and it blew a tire. So these guys are very, very capable, as you know. Rick Hendricks, his team is amazing. Kyle Larson around 5-6-1. Price too short there. I'd take a shot with the other Hendricks if you're interested in a Chevy. Toyotas are plus 110 to win it. Chevy, $2, plus $2, and Ford plus 230. So pretty even here. Lean the Toyotas, but the Chevys will be strong. But I'm picking a Ford, which is really weird. So I got Ryan Blaney as my top producing Ford, or my top contender Ford. Just a gut feeling about him. And then Brad Keselowski at around 10-1. Obviously, Buescher. I'm not going to back play Buescher again because tough to win 2 in a row and at this level. And then 2 long shot guys. Actually, 1 long shot guy. One long shot guy that I think is really worth a shot here at 185-1. Bristol can turn upside down in a hurry. And you saw last week some of the guys that made the top 10. It's wide open. These guys can do it. I mean, you got for the first time in a long time, you got like 20. I would say like 27, 28 cars who have good enough equipment to win these races. It didn't used to be the case. But Ricky Stenhouse has been really, really good at Bristol. He's a great super speedway guy, and this is his next best track. He's good because it kind of suits his driving. It's bump drafting, not the draft measures where it's speed, but you're smashing into the other cars, you're bumping them along, you're pushing them along. It's like bumper cars. Stenhouse, it suits him very well. He's had a lot of strong finishes here. He's had cars good enough to win here. He's had bad luck late in the race. If things come apart, 185-1, I could not say that's ridiculous. I mean, it's doable. 185-1 for Ricky Stenhouse. Top 10, look for those. Top 10s, top 5s are going to get plus prices on him. I would get on Ricky Stenhouse as a nice underdog long shot play here at the Bass Pro Shops night race. All right, we're going to take a break here on Bettor's Last Stand, show 101 from the Pine Room Watchdog Studio in downtown Wheeling. We're going to come back and we're going to talk all things football in our Watchdog portion of the program. You can hear this on the 5 o'clock hour of our Football Friday show on the Watchdog. So tune in there or tune in here. Stick with us. We appreciate you listening, and we will be back with more Bettor's Last Stand in a moment.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, greetings and welcome back, and it's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 101, coming to you on the Watchdog, part of your Football Friday, leading you up to the pregame show for this week's exciting football action as we have the health plan game of the week, Wheeling Park at University, coming your way at 7 o'clock over on WVLY. or I guess right here on WVOY, as you're listening on both stations right now. Wheeling Central at Midland Trail. That game coming your way at 7:30 on WKKX, and then John Marshall at Washington. All three of our local teams on the road tonight. They will be on the watchdognetwork.com at 7 o'clock p.m. This is your home for all the high school football action as we head into another busy week here. West Virginia week number 4, and Ohio guys are already on week number 5. So the high school football season moving quite fast and brisk here as we push along here for another Football Friday here on the Watchdog, presented by Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club. Thank you to them for all their continued support. We were out at Gumby's in Elm Grove today and had another wonderful show out there. And it's fun to be back at these Football Fridays. It's amazing how quick the week goes, and you get back right into it. And we'll get ready to talk about the 3 games coming up on the Watchdog Network this evening, as we're excited again to be bringing you high school football action, brought to you by our friends at Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club, as the Pine Room guys roll on here on the Watchdog, trying to get you ready for all the high school football action here as the season, again, it's almost halfway over. It's hard to believe. Also coming up on the Watchdog this weekend, tomorrow, it'll be West Virginia and Kansas doing battle at 12 noon Eastern time. That will be right here on the Watchdog. You can listen to that one, in a must-win game for both of those teams down at Mountaineer Field. Then it's the Giants and Browns on Sunday, 105 kick there. Sunday afternoon, early kickoff there. Obviously, Giants coming to the Browns. You can hear that one right here on the Watchdog as well. It should be an exciting game there. And the Browns coming off of a nice win over the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road last week. See if they can keep it going and move to 2-1, get their first home win of the year. Speaking of the Browns, obviously we're an official partner with the Cleveland Browns. You can hear all the Browns action, the coaches show, all the things leading up to the games each week. And you can tune into our show, the Pine Room on the Watchdog, on Tuesday afternoons in the 1 o'clock hour. We will have Kelsey Russo for her regular spot. She is the Cleveland Browns staff writer. Very insightful, has the inside track to all the information going on out of off the shores of Lake Erie. She's dialed into the Browns and really thorough and just up to date on every single thing going on, from injuries to what's going on at practice to just the matchups you're going to see each and every week. So join us. We have had Kelsey on 2 times. She's been great, and we will continue to have her in the 1 o'clock hour of our Pine Room Watchdog show on Tuesday. So tune in. That's noon to 3, and she will be on in the 1 o'clock hour. So we're excited to continue to have her. We had Dave Flatley from the Health Plan on as well on Tuesday. Always good to catch up with Flats as we were over at the Health Plan, the beautiful Health Plan building out on the veranda, hanging out with them, one of the critical sponsors of our high school football Fridays and our game nights here on the Watchdog. So we're excited for everything that's going on as far as the Watchdog and the Pine Room goes, and we're going to continue to push on and have another wonderful week of high school football action, college football action, and pro football action right here on the Watchdog. All right, let's get into it. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 101. That's what you tuned in for. That's what you're going to hear, and we had a very good week last week. Now, one thing I will say is, if you don't listen to the full show of Bettor's Last Stand, you might want to start, especially if you're interested in some of the things that aren't football related. We had a nice winner in NASCAR last week, around 42-1. I found Chris Buescher at 42-1 myself, but I saw him posted at anywhere between 30 and 42-1. So could have got a really good one there. We were up over 45 units aggregate on the week across all the sports that we do here on Bettor's Last Stand. We focus on the football portion of it here on the Watchdog, but just recapping you for our football, this was on the football show. We were 7-1 in the English Premier League right here on the Watchdog last week, 3-1 in the AFL right here on the Watchdog last week, and we have three of three live future tickets alive in the AFL. CFL was not so pretty. We were 0-3, and as I say always, I will tell you as many times as it takes. I'm wrong plenty of times. So all you need to do is be right once in a while, and you can do all right in this, but you're going to be wrong a lot of the time. So you got to be just a little bit more right than you are wrong, and that's the idea here on Bettor's Last Stand. And we try to keep it simple, try to make you understand what we're trying to go for, try to find angles that maybe the public and the regular people out there giving picks do not see. That's what we're trying to do. NFL-wise, we were 8-6 on the week. Our best bet cashed with the Indy and Green Bay game under, so that's 2-0 on our our best bets in the NFL. We had New England back in week 1. College football, not so great, but we were right around 500 because we did have, or at least as far as units go, we were right around even because we did have the Memphis money line, which was a nice $2 winner, which would have got us back, saved us off of one of those bad losses. So 11-13, a little below 500 as far as the actual wins and losses, but from a monetary standpoint, we were up just a touch, or actually down just a touch. It was about dead even, to be exact. Best bet winner with Ole Miss, finally getting into the win column there with our best bets after Cincinnati hacked one away 2 weeks ago against Pitt, which would have had us at 2-1 on our best bets, but that's okay. We'll keep pushing on. Had some good opinions in college, had some good opinions in the pros. Not every game shakes out the way you want, but when you're picking as many games as that, you're going to have situations where you're going to end up around 500. Like I said, NASCAR, big winner with Chris Buescher. We had a nice winner in F1 with George Russell in the top 3. IndyCar, we had 2 top 5s with Scott McLaughlin and Kyle Kirkwood. So cashing some bets here. That's the idea. That's what we want to do here on Bettor's Last Stand. All right, let me not waste any more time. Let's get into the football. I know that's what people want to talk about. They may not want to hear about the first segment of football, but we're going to give you a little bit of it anyway. So before we get into that, though, let's go over some stuff that happened last week around the sports betting stratosphere and around just sports in general. One bad beat in baseball. Actually, there's like a billion bad beats in baseball, but this one was one that, like, to me, it just sums up why baseball is so frustrating to wager on, which I love doing it. I'm a glutton for punishment, whatever you want to say. But the Mets and Blue Jays, it was 7.5. If you had this game under, it was 1-0 Blue Jays in the top of the 9th inning. Lindor homers to tie it at 1. So you're thinking, all right, probably go extra innings. Maybe I can keep this thing under 7. Let's just hope. Just pray. Well, he didn't even make it that far because the Mets erupt for a 6-run 9th inning. The top of the 9th inning, they're at Toronto. They take a 6-1 lead. They trailed 1-0 entering that inning. Oh, and then it gets even worse. So you take a 6-1 lead at the bottom of the 9th, and you're just hoping that the Jays go 1, 2, 3 and just say, we lost. Our season's been terrible. Let's just pack it in. Oh, no. You got a wild pitch. You got a hit batsman. You got a double, and then you got a base hit bringing in a run, and that was the final. You get they get the 6-2 final there, heading into the 9th with the 1-0 game. Devastating right there if you had that one. Some other things going on in the sports betting landscape. This is interesting stuff here. Keep your eyes on this. A federal sports betting bill was recently introduced by Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut and Representative of Congress Paul Tonko, a Democrat from New York, and he's from the House of Representatives, of course, and will require states to apply with the Department of Justice to offer legal markets. This is kind of ridiculous. Some of the stuff I'm okay with, that I'm not, along with a massive advertising restriction and ban. That I'm cool with. We have gaming commissions for this. We don't need restricted. We don't need more government because that's the worst thing you can ever have. And as expected, these are Democrats. So, yeah, that seems to be the way that they go. They want more restrictions. They want you to have zero liberties. I'm cool with the restrictions on the advertising. I think it's a little bit overdone, and they do market as if this is a really easy thing and you can just win so much money easily, and it's simply not true. But maybe some limitations there are the right thing. It's hard for people to believe that I would say that, seeing I work in the industry, but I do think it's fair to have a little bit of fine-tuning with that. And also a national prohibition on college player props. That one I'm against completely. You've seen this happen in the pros. Regulations where you need this. People will bet stuff underground regardless, so have it regulated and you can catch the perpetrators a lot easier. Sportsbooks defend the practice. I mean, this is a hot topic as well. Sportsbooks defending the practice of limiting sharp bettors. This is a big thing in Massachusetts. A lot of sharper bettors, professionals. If you're not familiar with the term sharp, I use it a lot here. Probably should have explained it back when we first came live on the Watchdog. But it is a guy who's either a professional bettor or somebody that's in the know, somebody that gets good intel, somebody that has a knack for this. They don't always have to be professionals. They can have side jobs. They can do other things. They can be parts of betting consortiums, which are groups of types of professionals or guys that are almost in a think tank trying to find winners each and every week. So they were restricting people's action. I mean, restricting it. It is like basically they can get nothing down. So these are going to be significant guys. Like guys are going to bet, $10K a game, and then they're restricting them based solely on the fact that they're winning or that they were getting the best of the number. Well, that's what sharp action is. You're trying to find the best of the number. You're looking for them. We all hunt them down. They post them for a reason. It's not our fault if you're changing them. And again, I know that's surprising to hear someone who does this as on the bookmaking side of it side with the bettors, but I bet too, and I think it's completely fair to look at it from that perspective. You can't do that. You can't just shut people down because they're getting the best of the number that you're posting. You can let them hit the limit and then you can move it, but you can't just stop them right in their tracks. I totally disagree with that method, and do not practice that at Wheeling Island Hotel Casino Racetrack Sportsbook. We don't do that where we are. We will give you the max that we can take at the number that is posted. Now, if it's a clear and obvious error, or palpable error as they use in the industry, then that's different. If something's completely mispriced, if I have a minus $5 favorite that is listed as a plus 350 underdog, that is an obvious error. But having a line that's 2.5 in my book and 3 somewhere else, and someone comes and bets a favorite at 2.5 in my place, that is not. That is, okay, I either didn't move it or we're in a position where we can take the action on the 2.5. So anyway, you see, this is starting to come to a head here. A few weeks ago, the Massachusetts Gaming Board put these operators, under some scrutiny, wanted them to ask questions. They stormed out. Now they're back with legal counsel, having to answer a lot of questions about why they're restricting people. MGM, Bally's, Caesars, DK, Fanatics, FanDuel, Penn Entertainment, which is ESPN Bet. So, I mean, all the biggest of the big here in North America. So, we'll keep an eye on it, see what happens. They are defending this still and saying that it's within their rights to do, which technically it is. But if you want to have a practice of running a real sports book, then you should not be doing this. There are other parameters there to be sure that you're being fair to everybody, and that's the way you should want it. That's all that the pros or the sharp bettors want is to be treated fairly. That's all they want. They don't want you to be able to take $5,000 off of Joe Blow down the street who got some money together with his buddies and throws it down on Ohio State, and then they come in and they want the same thing, and they're not getting a quarter of that because they are considered to be smart or sharp. That's just wrong. It's just not the way you should do business. That is for sure. And some books aren't in a position to take gigantic sharp action, so you just have to talk to them about that and say, listen, we can't do that here, but here's what I can give you. Not trying to squeeze them out completely. It's just not right. Some consultants, I thought, with some interesting feedback from this, but it was a great point. It's the fact that these companies and these operators in North America, they're not real bookmakers. They're companies, they're casino companies who aren't all that familiar with the sports betting aspect of it. DraftKings and FanDuel and these, they're bringing in people from Europe. They're getting some people from Vegas to work and run their stuff. They know the game, but them as a business do not. They do not like risk. These casinos don't like risk. They want to have safe and profitable wins, and they don't like risk. So they're not real bookmakers, and they're masquerading as bookmakers, and it's leading to unfair treatment to a lot of bettors, and it's not really acceptable. If you want to actually be a legitimate bookmaker in North America, in the United States, you have to live up to a standard. And so far in Massachusetts, I'm sure they do this in other places too, but Massachusetts is pushing the envelope. MLB players file a suit against DK, FanDuel, Underdog Sports, and Bet365 over player image usages. So you can see, like, if you go on FanDuel in these places, in DraftKings, you can see you got Shohei Ohtani tonight to get over his base props or whatever, home run, his pictures there. Well, I guess they didn't clear that or something in the players union, so they're suing for more cash. NFL week 2 saw 8 outright upsets. Wow. So not just winning on the spread, they're winning outright. So a lot of that one there. Big week for the books in most cases. A lot of public people on the Ravens and the Cowboys and so on and so forth. And we talked about those here on Bettor's Last Stand. Some of the games that were the high ticket count, not the high money necessarily, but the high ticket count. You have tons of public action on these games. And looking at it from last week, the lopsided ticket action from last week, here you go. I'm going to give you a rundown right now. 89% of the tickets on the Chargers last week. That one was a winner. 86% on the 49ers minus the points, loss. 81% on the Eagles minus the points, loss. 80% on the Texans minus the points, loss. 79% on the Redskins. That was a winner in overtime, but only because the Giants kicker got hurt. 78% on the Colts minus the points, loss. 76% on the Chiefs minus the points, loss. 75% on the Cowboys minus the points, loss. We gave you all those, a lot of those last week here on the show, just talking about who's hot, who's not, who's the high ticket volume, the hot picks, like so to speak, people that want public. They love these favorites. They just love it. I urge you to step away. Don't bet all dogs. That's not going to work either. But you got to pick and choose. You can't just bet all favorites. It's just not going to be a winning strategy. Every time you lose, you're just giving back units, and you just can't do it that way. Kickers continue to be the story in the NFL as more field goals have been made than touchdowns through 2 weeks. As I said, Graham Gano hurt in warm-ups for the Giants. That hurt them badly against the Redskins in a game they lost in overtime, but it helped me because we had the Redskins right here on Bettor's Last Stand. All right, let's talk about some lopsided tickets this week. These are teams, if you're thinking about betting these teams, take another look. Investigate. Look a little bit deeper because I'm pretty sure not all 6 of these teams are going to cover. The Raiders at 84% of tickets right now on the Raiders minus 5.5, 82% on the Bucks minus 3.5, 79% on the Chiefs minus 3.5, 75% on the Bills minus 5, 70% on the Saints minus 2.5, and 70% on the Packers plus 3. Those are your most lopsided ticket counts heading into this weekend. And you know, I can't urge you enough to just study these a little bit better. Don't just say, oh, the Raiders are better than this team, or the Bucks are better than this team. They're 2-0. Oh, the Bucks are 2-0. They got to be good. Like, this is the NFL. This can change so quickly from week to week. So just be guarded in your approach. A couple college football notes before we start running through what we like for this week. Arch Manning, how about this? He gets into the game last week. Quinn Ewers goes out hurt against Texas San Antonio and Johnson's Roadrunners. And Arch Manning now goes from 150 to 1 to 22 to 1 to win the Heisman. Maybe it's not a terrible bet if Ewers is out for a while and Arch keeps playing this well. We'll see what he does against some real opponents, but nonetheless, impressive start for Arch Manning. Florida State has already clinched their win total under 9.5. That ain't hitting, and they're hitting their 0-3 on the season with another game this week, and I'm probably picking against them in that one. South Alabama defeated Northwestern State 87-10 in a game that was shortened by agreement of the two coaches, and that just reminds me to remind you, check your house rules. Know the rules when you're betting these games, especially games early in the first 3 or 4 weeks where you're playing these buy-a-win opponents. Be sure, this happened with Pitt a few years ago, and we had people furious. I remember if they played Duquesne or St. Francis. I don't remember, but they ended up shortening the quarters, and it didn't hit 55 minutes, which is what it needs to be an official bet at Wheeling Island Hotel Casino Racetrack Sportsbook. You got to have 55 minutes. Well, if you don't, it's not action. It's a refund. And we had people, Pitt won the game. They won by 60. They would have covered no matter what. That's the rules. You got to know your house rules. So be sure you're aware of your house rules. Those were refunds in some spots. Some places they were action dependent on those house rules. Lopsided college plays this week. 94% of tickets on Ole Miss. Our best bet from last week. We will not be on them this week. Texas, minus 44.5. You got 93% on Texas. 89% on Army, minus the 6. 88% on Ohio State, minus 40. That's just insane. 87% on Notre Dame, minus 28. Did we not learn anything from a couple of weeks ago? Let's go with Miami now. My Hurricanes, 87% on Miami, minus 16.5. 86% on Tennessee, minus 7 in Oklahoma. 86% on Oregon, minus the 5.5. 83% on Indiana now, all of a sudden a darling, which we have on our future bets. Minus the 28.5. That's 83% on Indiana, and 84% on USC, minus 5.5 at the Big House. I mean, this is insane stuff. Stay away. Look for these. You can find a place called Wager Talk, and there's some other places out there if you're a subscriber to VSiN or any of the places. You can hear a lot of VSiN programming right here on the Watchdog. If you subscribe to some of their stuff, you can see the betting splits, and you can start to see where the ticket breaks down versus the money. And you don't want to be on there where the ticket count is just, you're buried in the 80s and 90s. You just, most of the time, that is not going to be the way that you want to be in at least in professional and college football. All right, let's go along here. We are back to it. It's English Premier Soccer. and we got another week ready to go here. We had a great week last week. We were 7-1 in the EPL. We're going to try to keep it rolling here again. These are Saturday contests coming your way tomorrow as we begin our football feature here on the Pine Room Watchdog pregame show, I guess. It's Bettor's Last Stand, really, but we're bringing you up to the pregame show here on the Watchdog for the Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, and John Marshall on the Watchdog Network. You can hear those across the various Watchdog family of networks. We're excited to have that tonight. And Jeff, along with myself and Chris and Jub, will be in the studios giving you all the action, leading you up to the pregames and out to the broadcasts of these wonderful games. Coach Luke and Nick will be down at University as Wheeling Park heads down there, and then it will be a newly assembled crew of Pine Room guys as Jarrett makes his first debut for the High School Football Fridays. He'll be on the call with Soup and Cooley. They'll be heading down to Midland Trail for the Wheeling Central game, and then Coach Heinerman, Coach Treveri, and Ross Johnson on the call for John Marshall at Washington. You can hear all those games on the WatchdogNetwork.com coming up here in just a little bit, but we got action to get to right now. Let's try to pick some winners here. It's English Premier League Soccer. We start out Chelsea at home against West Ham United. This is a London derby and an interesting one, I would say, but I didn't really love anything here. 3 of the last 5 here to the over. The West Ham is actually at home here. They're the home team. West Ham is at home in London. It's a cross-town rival here. West Ham's won the last 3 at home against Chelsea, and the last 2 have went over in the series. I like both teams to score in this game, and I know it's a little bit steep of a price. It's like -$2, and I hate giving out anything. I don't give out large favorites on the show at all as far as money lines go. I just don't do it. I don't believe in it. You just you lose one and you're set back so much. They're just not worth doing. Now I do recommend small parlays from time to time with plays like this, where if you can get 2 goals, 1 from each team, you cash one leg of your parlay. I did have a 3-team parlay. That will be one of the legs with it. And again, I don't play these very often. So if you're comfortable laying the 2-10 with it, then go for it. Bet both teams to score, though, in Chelsea, West Ham. Think it'll be an interesting seesaw affair. Wolves at Aston Villa. 4 of the last 5 in this have been under the total. So you got a posted total of 3 here. Wolves plus $4 on the money line. Aston Villa -180. Don't like anything on the side there, but I do lean to the under here. As I said, 4 of the last 5, and the last 4 overall have stayed under the 3. Wolves haven't won in 9 games, if you can believe that. Aston Villa coming off a midweek win in the Champions League as they make a return there, and as they beat the young boys from over in Europe, and I believe that is Switzerland. Yeah, Switzerland's young boys. So they beat them midweek, so they're playing pretty well right now. But I like this game under. I don't think Wolves will get a whole lot of traction offensively. They struggle with Villa in the past, so we'll go under 3 in Villa and Wolves. Brentford, our darlings from last week. Brentford gets the job done. They actually led this match for quite a bit of time against Manchester City. We told you last week that they had won there in the past, and they were going to be live, and they did score a goal, and they did cash our bet for us. So we were excited about that one, but Brentford will take on Tottenham now. So you got another matchup here, another tough matchup for Brentford. Tottenham -195. Brentford plus 420 or 340 on the draw. Both of those I would take a peek at. Brentford not really a bad choice here, if you ask me. I think both teams will score in this game. That will be a second leg of that parlay that I mentioned earlier with Chelsea and West Ham, so add that one to it. These games have been really high scoring the last couple of years. The last 4 have went over. I like Brentford to score at least 2 goals in this game at plus 185. I think Brentford's just been a team the last 2 years. They just know how to score goals. And although that they not always win, they can put goals in the net. And they've scored at least 2 goals the last 3 times against Spurs. So I really like that angle. I like Brentford over 1.5, and don't be afraid to play a little bit on Brentford, either a draw no bet or a double option with the draw or the win for Brentford. Everton at Leicester City. This is a tough one here. The home team is winless in the last 6 in the series, if you could believe that. It's nuts. So Leicester, the home team here, but it's hard to back Everton in the form that they're in right now. Leicester plus 145, Everton plus 165. Draw is 235. Maybe that's the way to go. 3 of the last 5 go under, but I'm liking the over here. Everton's been surrendering goals. Nothing's ever safe with them. They just got bounced out of the League Cup. I mean, everything is going wrong for Everton right now. Leicester, they need this. They've got to. If they're going to stay up, they got to take points off teams like Everton. So I would lean a little bit to Leicester in the game. You're getting a plus price on them against Everton. A lot of teams are going to be laying minus money in these matchups. But I'm going to go over 2.5 Everton and Leicester. Newcastle at Fulham. It'll be Newcastle plus 135. Fulham plus 175. 240 on the draw. 3 of the last 5 here have went under. Let's see. Fulham has lost 6 straight times in this series. So Newcastle's pretty much owned them. You're getting Newcastle at plus 135. I've got to play Newcastle here. I just have to. They're unbeaten in their last 10 games. They're playing really well. So we're going with Newcastle on the road at Fulham. Fulham's a team I think will be relegated. Plus 135 on Newcastle. Absolute steal. Take United. Ipswich at Southampton. It will be Southampton plus 120. Ipswich plus 205. Keep looking for a reason to play Ipswich, but I can't get to it yet. On the road here, they're winless in 5 overall. 4 of the last 5 in this series have went under. We will go under the 3, Ipswich and Southampton. AFC Bournemouth at Liverpool. Liverpool minus 370, 740 on the return for AFC Bournemouth. The draw plus 470. Liverpool. It was a tough week for them. Very interesting week. They lost last week at home to Nottingham Forest, a game that we stayed away from because Forest usually doesn't play that well on the road. Well, they win 1-0 in the Anfield. Just craziness. And then Liverpool bounces back with a huge win against AC Milan in the Champions League on Tuesday. So they kind of righted the ship. 4 of the last 5 have went over in this. 3 is the posted. I've seen 3.5s out there. You could probably buy it down, whatever you want to do. But I will go over in this. I think it's going to be a tough one for Bournemouth. They've 8 straight winless against Liverpool, so I don't expect that to change anytime soon with Liverpool getting the ship righted last week with their midweek win. Should be some goals, though. I think Bournemouth can put 1 by, and maybe Liverpool gets 3. So we'll go over in Bournemouth and Liverpool. Manchester United and Crystal Palace, the final game on Saturday, 12:30 kick for this one. This will be another one I add to that 3-team parlay or 3-leg parlay. Manchester United, Crystal Palace, both teams to score, along with Brentford, Tottenham, both teams to score, and Chelsea, West Ham, both teams to score. We'll go with... I wanted to lean Palace in this. I'd probably go draw no bet with Palace maybe. Palace plus 165, United plus 135. Palace won both of these last year, and I think they've played Manchester United pretty well in the last few years. So we'll go with Crystal Palace, a lean there, but both teams to score. And then on Sunday, Nottingham Forest, Brighton. Nothing on that one. Brighton, a small favorite, minus 135 at home. Nottingham plus 340. I don't think they can duplicate what they did last week at Liverpool, so that's going to be a pass for me. Maybe a lean to Brighton there. You're kind of getting them cheap at 135. And then Arsenal, Man City, game of the week here. The 2 Titans, 10 unbeaten in a row. Man City at home against Arsenal. I think it continues. Lay the 135 with City. I think they win the match. I think it's probably 1-0. But that's all it needs to be. The last 2 have went under, so we'll go under the 3, and we'll go a lean towards City, but under the 3 is the play. All right, let's go over to Canadian football. Did not do so hot here last week, that is for sure. Hamilton and Toronto. Toronto minus 6.5. Total 53.5. Toronto, the much better team here. Home team's won the last 4. Man, I had no play here. Couldn't find anything that I liked here. This is a Friday night game. So tonight, when you're listening, no play on Hamilton and Toronto. Also tonight, 9:30 Eastern kickoff. It'll be Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders, on the road at the Calgary Stampeders. It'll be Saskatchewan minus 2.5. The total 51. Both these teams right around treading water. 5-7-1 versus 4-8-1. I don't know. This is a tricky game. Both of these teams have kind of been just seesaw up and down. Don't really know what to expect out of them, and they've actually together have lost 9 straight contests. So neither one of these teams playing very well. So I'm going to go Saskatchewan on the road here, minus the 2.5. I know that's tricky land road points, but just a little bit of a gut feeling on Saskatchewan on the game tonight. Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. It'll be Montreal, the Alouettes at the Ottawa Red Blacks. Montreal minus 2.5. The total 50 in this one. Back-to-back good performances by Montreal. They've played pretty strong. They've won a couple in a row, and 4 of the last 5 in this series have went under the total. So I think maybe an underplay there, but I went with Montreal on the road minus the 2.5. I just think that they're probably the team that's playing right now the best. They're 10-2-1 for a reason, and they keep it going here. Although Ottawa may be a little bit formidable, I guess I can't completely rule it out that they would be able to pull the upset here. But the way that I've picked, you're probably better off going the opposite in the Canadian football. Our last Canadian football game is Winnipeg at Edmonton. It'll be Winnipeg coming in at 7-6. And Edmonton at 5-8, but Edmonton's played pretty good. They've won 2 in a row, and they've won, I believe, 5 out of 6 or 5 out of 7. So they're playing pretty good. Winnipeg's won 5 in a row. They'll be -3 on the road, total 49.5. Winnipeg's won the last 6 in the series, but I don't want to lay points on the road again. And I'll be going over the 49.5. Back-to-back overs in this series have hit Winnipeg and Edmonton. So that's Winnipeg and Edmonton over the 49.5. Montreal -2 on the road, and Saskatchewan -2 on the road in the CFL. All right, let's get over to Aussie Rules Football now, where we're doing pretty well, I will say. We got 3 live tickets for the preliminary finals, which is exciting. We got, that's some good action there. We got a 7-1, a 6-1, and an 8-1 there with Geelong and Brisbane and Port Adelaide, who comes out of the losers bracket, to put it in layman's terms. Battles back out after getting facing elimination last week, and they get the job done. And we're excited about the spot we're in. We got Port Adelaide on Friday morning, which I guess the sad part is you would have missed this already. So I'll have this posted at the BLS_PRP for future weeks, so you understand I always have these out before in case you missed it. But we're going to go with the Power. They're catching 19.5 in this. And I tell you what, they've won 8 straight in this series. I just didn't understand Sydney being a huge price here, or favored by 19.5. I thought it was pretty crazy. They beat them 148-36 this year. This seems like a good bet. I know Port Adelaide's beat up. They're missing a lot of their guys. Sam Powell-Pepper, Dixon's a mess. They got a lot of issues. So we'll see what happens. You'll know by the time you listen to this if I was right, if Port Adelaide is in the final, in the grand final, and we can hopefully cash a ticket. If we could get Port through, we're cashing a ticket for sure, because we got both teams in the other preliminary final, which will be on Saturday morning, which is a game you can get action on. But we're going Port and under the 168.5. We're also going with Jason Horn-Francis to score at least 2 goals at plus 205 to score 1 goal. He's 185, but that's minus 185. I don't like giving those out. It's too big of a price for me. Money line for Port Adelaide was plus 220. So hopefully by the time you listen to this, Port Adelaide's in with a win. All right, let's get on to a game that you can win with, and that is a late night tonight, 3:15 a.m. our time, or very, very early on Saturday morning if you prefer. It's the Brisbane Lions and the Geelong Cats. The Brisbane Lions played in one of the greatest games that you'll ever see in sports last week. They played the Greater Western Sydney Giants. Greater Western Sydney was winning this match. I had this marked down as a loser late in the second quarter. Our over was looking good. We had Brisbane and over. We gave those plays out last week. So the over I felt really good about. We were on a ridiculous pace there. But Brisbane was struggling so mightily. They made a really, really strong run in the third quarter. And they got it back to, I think, maybe 13. And I'm thinking, all right, they got a shot. But then GWS responded. They ran the lead back out to 44 points. 44 points in the fourth quarter. And somehow, some way, in one of the most miraculous performances I've ever seen, the Brisbane Lions come alive, take a 105-100 lead with about a minute and 35 left in the game, and they hang on, and they win 105-100. So they cash for us, plus the points, money line, everything, and over the total was an easy one. Can they duplicate that? I don't know how. And the emotional draining that game must have put onto them has to be just immense. I'm not sure they can rally back, but we shall see. If you want to be introduced to the incredible game that is Australian Rules Football, go back and look for that game. It would be Brisbane at Greater Western Sydney at Brisbane in last week's finals. And you will see, if you watch the fourth quarter, I don't know how you couldn't be hooked on the sport. It's absolutely incredible the way the crowd comes alive with the performances. Joe Danaher just with 2 incredible kicks with really, really high degree of difficulty with so much pressure on him. He scores the goal to get him within 1, and then the go-ahead goal Just absolutely superb performances. But not to bore you with that, hopefully you're interested in this stuff because it's absolutely captivating and far more exciting than anything you're going to watch on an NFL Sunday. That is for sure. Geelong's won 3 of 5 in this series. So they got to match up with the really, really tough Geelong Cats, who are a little bit more well-rested right now. They got some injuries too, but probably a little healthier right now than the Lions are. It'll be Geelong minus 4.5. The total 171.5. We'll be going with the under in this game as well. 171.5, a little high. I think this game is going to be tight. These teams, I mean, this is it. This is their whole season. They're going to be so much more responsible defensively than they ever were, especially in the second half of this game. I also urge you, from an in-play standard, if you're watching this game or you're following it and the game starts out pretty hot and they're scoring early, they're going to wear down, things are going to change, I would continue to look at in-play unders, as that, say it opens 171.5, the thing gets bet up to, or well, played up, you scored up to 190 in play, bet it back under the 190. You can find a lot of value in that, as these games will tend to slow down. Great adjustments made by these teams at halftime, and they will put the clamps on, especially in a game that means this much. The Cats won the earlier meeting this season and have won 3 of 5. As I said, they won 63-37 back in round 6. 4 of the 5 meetings, their previous 5 meetings, have stayed under the total in this matchup between the Lions and the Cats. Man, I'm going under in the game. I really can't pick a winner here. This is the teams that I enjoy watching. We have future tickets on both of them. I'm just going to watch and I'm going to enjoy this, because if it can stay under and one of these teams comes through uninjured and unscathed, I hope it's a very entertaining game and we can cash a ticket with Port Adelaide in the final. We would have it locked up. But a couple of specific player things to look at. Joe Danaher, really good forward player for Brisbane. To score 2 goals, you can find him at, I believe it'll be around plus 150. He's going to get a lot of opportunities here, and he's really, really good, and he's really good under pressure. So Joe Danaher to score twice for the Lions, plus 150. I also like Hugh McCluggage to score a goal for the Lions. This guy's an energy player. He wins a lot of midfield battles, and he can leak out, and he can kick them on the run from pretty good distance. So McCluggage to score, you can find that at even money. Pretty good price on him. You only got to score one time, and these guys are going to get ample opportunities. And then on the other side, it'll be the Geelong Cats. Patrick Dangerfield, maybe this is his last go-around here. He's the captain of the Geelong Cats. He's getting up there in age. He's a destroyer in the midfield for them. Plus 125 to score. I think you could see him trying to get a send-off here, especially if they're getting beat late, maybe to try to get him a goal, one last goal. Look at Dangerfield. He's going to play a big role in this game. Can he leak out? He plays a similar game to McCluggage, could get out in the run and put one through there. So Dangerfield to score, McCluggage to score, and Joe Danaher to score twice in the matchup between the Brisbane Lions and the Geelong Cats. Again, we're going under 171 in that one, and we got 3 future tickets alive and well in the AFL. All right, rolling along here. It's the Bettor's Last Stand, 101st edition here on the Watchdog, as we bring you up to high school football action coming your way in just a little bit, just around 6 o'clock, a little after. We'll have the pregame show that'll get you ready for the Wheeling Park Patriots at the University Hawks, and then it'll be the Midland Trail Patriots hosting our Wheeling Central Maroon Knights, and then John Marshall will be on the road at the Washington Patriots. So lots of Patriots in action tonight here on the Watchdog. I think it's the Washington Patriots. My brain's overloaded with high school information, so forgive me if I got the Washington's nickname wrong, but I think I am right about that. Nonetheless, stay tuned for the pregame show. Myself, along with Jeff Doyle, Chris Pavlik, and Jub, the man here from the Watchdog Studio, will have everything ready for you, getting you ready for 3 good games, and we'll be back at halftime for our Semper Fi Paving halftime show here on the Watchdog. Let me remind you right now, this portion of Bettor's Last Stand is brought to you by the Brownie House. Get on over to yesbrownies.com today. Use the promo code PINEROOM for 20% off your order. You want to get some brownies for your tailgate, I would highly, highly recommend getting them from the Brownie House. They're really the only place I would ever consider buying brownies. All right, let's get on to the NFL. That's what people came to talk about here as we roll on Bettor's Last Stand 101 on the Watchdog. All right, here we go. So interesting week. Last week, I'll elaborate on some games as we go through the card about what teams did last week. Chargers, very good last week, but not a quality opponent. We start off there. They'll be at the Steelers. The Steelers minus 1.5. The total of 35.5. That opened 38.5 down to 35.5. I like this game under. I would bet it almost all the way down to 30. I know that's irresponsible to say, but I mean, you're looking at 32 even or something like that. I mean, I really don't see how the Steelers are going to move the ball very, very well against the Chargers. Both these teams could cause havoc with their pass rush. You got banged up Justin Herbert. You got a good run game there, so it's going to be, control, possession for Harbaugh, knowing that his quarterback's beat up and he doesn't have a lot of great wide receivers. Justin Fields has, all you can say about him is he hasn't turned it over. He hasn't done anything to earn this job. He's taken terrible sacks. He was bad in the game against Denver. They still won. You can't give him the credit, though. So I don't understand the whole argument about him being the starter here. I would go with Wilson and try to up your offense, because if you're getting performances out of your defense, you should be able to score 20 points, and you should be able to win these games convincingly. That's not been the case. At some point, Fields will revert back to his old self, and he will turn the ball over, and that might happen this week. It may not. I don't know, but I'm going to go under, and I'm leaning Chargers in the game. Can the Steelers be 3-0? Maybe. Maybe they could, but Jim Harbaugh, coaching mismatch here. Jim Harbaugh versus Mike Tomlin. It's not even close. And so we'll lean Chargers, but the main play in this game will be under the 35.5 as it is now. Like I say, I would bet it almost down to 30, but don't get crazy. Maybe 33, 32.5. Take a shot there. Chicago in Indianapolis. It'll be the Bears at the Colts. Colts -1, the total 43.5 in this one. These two teams are both not very good. One of them has a quarterback that I know is not going to be good in the league, and that is the Colts. We've said that time and time again, and he proves us right time and time again with another terrible performance on the road last week at Green Bay. Green Bay was without their quarterback, and they still win the game. No faith in Anthony Richardson. He is a bum. He's not good. And how you can lay points with him, I'll never know. Caleb Williams is young. He's going to have a lot of growing pains. He's got a really bad coaching staff. He has a lot of pressure on him from a city that hasn't had a quarterback that was good ever. I still think he eventually will be good, but he's just not ready yet. Although I would lean Bears in this game for maybe Caleb Williams to get his first win. That's where I would kind of lean. Can't make a strong enough play to recommend it, though. I'm going to go over, though, in this game, 43.5. I think the Bears get a little bit more right on offense here. I think they get some easy plays. Colts defense, very poor from what I've seen so far. Green Bay, if they had any quarterbacking play at all last week, it would have been an ugly performance. But that's why we had the under, because we know both teams had no quarterback. So going over the 43.5, Bears and Colts at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Houston at Minnesota. It'll be the Texans -2.5 on the road to total 46 in this one. Houston's got the Jaguars next. It's been a trouble spot for them. As far as before the Jags, they've really struggled to win the game before they play the Jags, which is really weird. They're 1-7 leading into the game against Jacksonville. That's really weird. Not that those trends always mean anything, because you have a lot of different players. But I don't love this here. I think Minnesota might be a little bit live, but I can't understand how they're going to end up being, actually in contention here. But Darnold's playing okay. I have no official play on this game, so it'll be a pass for me. It'll be the Giants and the Browns. Our next game, can hear it right here on the Watchdog. Cleveland Browns -6 at home. The total 38.5. Can't lay 6 with the Browns yet. Would love to. Think they should win the game, but it might be a field goal. I'd lean Giants or pass in that one. Philadelphia on the road at New Orleans. It'll be New Orleans -2.5. The total 49.5. Man, everybody jumped off Philly. This game, before Monday Night Football, Philly was a 3.5-point favorite on the road in this matchup. Now they're a 2.5-point dog. I will be all over the Eagles here. I've heard numerous people tell me the Eagles' defense is broken and is a disaster, but I don't really trust all these people. I don't think any of them know what they're talking about, because last week they told me the Eagles would kill the Falcons, and they were wrong. So we're going to go with the Eagles. They're the better team. They got the better roster. I don't know if they got the better coach. I want to say they do, but we're going to go with them. I just can't believe that the Saints are going to keep this up. Saints turn into a pumpkin. Give me the Eagles. Give me the money line. Give me minus points, plus points, whatever you want. Eagles roll on the road at New Orleans. Denver at Tampa. Tampa -6.5. The total 39.5. Beware of this game. Tampa looking great right now. They're feeling good. Mayfield's playing awesome. They get Denver at home. I mean, this seems like an automatic win, right? Well, so far, these big spreads have not been covered by the favorites. I would stay away from this. I would not play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'd look at something like Denver team total under, some sack props maybe for Tampa. Bo Nix is awful. Sean Payton is horrendous. I've told people that it was my opinion for years, and I've said it a lot on this show. If you've listened to the show, you know where I stand. And so far, I've been right. Will I continue to be? I don't know. But Denver stinks. Payton stinks. Nix stinks. Tampa, and under in this game. Probably if you can do a money line parlay. Don't like those very often, but Tampa to win under 39.5. I'm going to see Denver holding this game to like a 13-7 or something like that and covering. So I'll go under. I'll go Denver's team total under and some defensive props for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that one. Green Bay at Tennessee. Tennessee -3, 36.5 the total, down from the opener of 39.5. Looks like Jordan Love probably won't play again here. So you got the Titans and Will Levis favored, which is crazy. Titans could easily be 2-0. And everybody's blaming Will Levis, and he's stunk. And I'm not defending him at all, but they've got 2 punts blocked in 2 weeks. Inexcusable. Special teams coach got to go. You can't have that. When you're not very good, you can't give up block punts 2 weeks in a row. Those were the differences in the game, not just Will Levis. I would lean a little bit Titans here, but I can't make a strong play. Don't know if Love will play. That could change everything, so keep an eye on that one. But I'm going under the 36.5 as it stands now. If Jordan Love plays in the game, check BLS_PRP. We'll have an updated play, perhaps, if we need to change it. Carolina at the Raiders. Raiders -5.5, total 41. Everyone in the world is playing the Raiders here. I will not be. It'll be Carolina or pass. They got Andy Dalton in the lineup. I don't know if that's good or bad, but take a shot with the Panthers. Just a small play on them. Don't really love that. Miami at Seattle. Seattle -4.5. Incredible tidbit here. The last Miami Dolphins quarterback to win in Seattle was Dan Marino in the 1999 wild card game. It was a playoff game. Those teams were in the AFC at the same time back in those days, and the Seahawks lost the game 2017. I don't see that happening this time. Give me the Seahawks minus the points. Seahawks playing very well. We were very high on them at the preseason. They're one of our win totals over. So the Hawks roll out there on the left coast. Detroit Lions looking to bounce back. They'll be at the Arizona Cardinals. It'll be Detroit -3. The total 52.5. Man, it was a weird game for Dan Campbell. I knew we were snake bit with the Lions last week when they messed up at the end of the half and had a 10-second runoff and didn't get to kick a field goal. Campbell looked like he was going to strangle somebody, and I don't blame him. But they can never get right. Weird game, and this didn't play very well. So I'm going to take a shot that they get back on track this week against the Arizona Cardinals, who have also played pretty well. So I can't knock the Cardinals. They played better than adequate, and I think that I got nothing bad to say about them. Again, that was another team. We played them over their win total, so we expected them to be pretty pesky here. I think the Detroit Lions show that they're one of the better teams in the NFC, flex their muscles and cover the 3 on the road. Baltimore at Dallas. Oh, boy, what a mess here. Ravens now -1. Dallas open -1, 48.5 the total. Where do you go here? Both these teams losses at home last week, killing survivor pools, just destroying people. Ravens 8-1-1 against non-division opponents, though, in their last and one of those losses was just the Raiders. So keep that in mind. They have played very, very well against the NFC. I like Baltimore in the game, not just because I'm a Raven fan. I think they get it right here. Dallas has some problems, and I think they figured out some things with Derrick Henry late in the game. Look for Derrick Henry maybe to have a breakout game here, maybe a touchdown or two, and over his yardage prop, because I think that they changed some of the blocking schemes. I was reading in the Baltimore paper this week about how they've adjusted some of the blocking, what they're going to do as far as their zone plays on offense. So I think they may have had something figured out there. Too bad they didn't use it and win the game the other week, but I think they maybe get back on track against the slumping Cowboys on the road. 49ers at Rams. 49ers -7.5 on the road, total 43. 49ers got injuries. They shouldn't be laying this. They opened 4.5. It's up to 7.5. Rams got a lot of problems. Key there, offensive line. If the Rams can get a couple of their offensive linemen back, Matt Stafford can make any receiver decent, but I'm going under in this game, 43. Keep an eye on the injury report there. Lots of guys, lots of casualties. Chiefs and Falcons. This is Sunday Night Football. It'll be the Chiefs -3.5 on the road, total 46.5. I like the over in this game. Patrick Mahomes has not played well. He didn't play well against the Bengals last week, but you know what? He's a winner, and he gets the job done, and he got the job done just in the nick of time to win that game, as we called here on Bettor's Last Stand. They didn't cover, though. But Kansas City, I like this game over. I think they get it right on offense here, and they play against the Falcon team, which was very fortunate to have the Eagles screw up at the end of Monday Night Football and not run the clock out and give the Falcons and Kirk Cousins a chance to get a victory. Monday Night Football, we got 2 games. Interesting. Jacksonville at Buffalo. It'll be the Bills -5.5, total 45.5. Jacksonville, it's desperation time. I was very high on them, and that's been one of the areas I've been way wrong about. I was wrong on them. I was wrong on the Carolina Panthers. Everything else in the NFL has kind of held the form for us, but not a good start for the Jags. Thought they would win last week. They were terrible. The Trevor Lawrence, I just don't know. I'm starting to really think that he's going to be a bust. I don't want to think that, but it doesn't look good for him. But this is the type of game you could see Jacksonville somehow winning. The Bills have played great. Josh Allen is my MVP to this point in the NFL. I don't think there's even a close second. He's taken a bunch of nobodies and made them very relevant, and the Bills have looked very good. They've got some new guys on defense that are performing better than expected. I like the Bills. I think the Bills win this game by a field goal probably. Maybe the Jags cover the spread at 5.5. Washington at Cincinnati. Cincinnati now up to a 7.5-point favorite. And I saw this was a 1.5-point favorite or 1.5-point spread for Cincinnati going into Sunday afternoon's game, and it's up to 7.5, 6 points based on a loss to the Chiefs and Mahomes threw 2 picks. I'm just baffled by power ratings for the Chiefs and the public love for the Bengals and the public love for the Bengals. It doesn't make any sense to me. They played a little bit better last week against the Chiefs, but that's like their Christmas. They play hard against the Chiefs. They want to prove the Chiefs wrong. They talk a lot of smack against the Chiefs. They don't ever beat the Chiefs in games that matter. They did one time. That was a fluke. We talked about it last week. I just don't understand how this team's laying 7.5 against anybody. Give me the Redskins. I will take some money line on the Redskins in this game because this is a team that is getting better. This is a team that's building for the future, and this is a team that's not going to be scared to go into Cincinnati and have a chance of winning this game. So I'll gladly take 7.5 with the Skins, and I'll take the Skins on the money line, and I think they're going to play the Bengals very tough. The Bengals are going to be miserable after they're 0-2 now. They've played terrible pretty much in both of the games, and they could have won the game last week, but they didn't. They don't get the job done when they need to because they're not very good. And Joe Burrow's not very good, and I'm tired of hearing about it. And, someday I will be vindicated with that prophecy. Let's hope. All right, rolling along here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 101. We got a few minutes left. Time to get into college football, everybody's favorite college football, as we get ready to take you up to high school football action right here on the Watchdog tonight. Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, and John Marshall all in action on the Watchdog Network. All right, another game tonight. You can follow it while you're listening to those games. It'll be Stanford at Syracuse tonight. Syracuse minus 8.5 to total 57. I got sharp money coming in on Stanford. As you know, if you listen to the show, I'm high on Stanford. Think they've been pretty good. I'll be taking the points with the Cardinal on the road, and we're going to go over 57. I think there'll be some points in this game. Illinois at Nebraska. Nebraska minus 7.5. The total 43 in this game. And Illinois played a lot of tight games. They've had games decided by 3-1, 3-2, 2, and 6 points in their last however many games that was that I just spewed off. So I'm going with Illinois plus the points tonight, 7.5 against Nebraska. Hopefully you can get over a touchdown there. I think they keep it close. North Carolina State and Clemson. This is a bizarre one. Clemson opened 14. It's now up to 20.5. I can't lay 20.5 with Clemson, so I'll be passing on this game. You know I'm down on NC State. I've never liked them at all. I think they're really, really bad, but I can't lay 20.5 with Clemson, although maybe Clemson team total over. I don't know. I don't like anything in that game. I'd stay away from that. Houston at Cincinnati. Cincinnati minus 5.5 to total 48.5. Pretty high on the Bearcats. Little public money showing on them, which worries me a tad. I still think they're the better team here, so I'll go Cincinnati minus the 5.5. Marshall and Ohio State. It'll be Ohio State minus 40. The total 52 in this game. I like the under in this, and I also think Marshall team total. I thought that was a pretty good bet, but then I looked at it, 7.5. Minus 230. No, thank you. I won't be going with that one. I got burned on one of those with Penn State a few weeks ago. I will not be doing that. Ohio State has held 12 of its last 13 opponents to under 18 points. Well, this is 7.5. That's quite a difference. I think they could keep them under 18, but not 7.5. So I'll be going under for the game. Ohio State and Marshall under 52. Charlotte and Indiana. Charlotte catching 28.5 to total 49. The reason I mentioned this game is you got the public on Indiana. As I said earlier, ticket count really high. Sharp action on Charlotte. I got to watch this a little bit more, see if I can find who some of these sharper guys are that are playing this. So maybe a lean towards the 49ers catching 28.5. Check BLS_PRP for our official play on that one. Kansas and West Virginia in a loser leaves town match here in Morgantown. West Virginia minus 2.5 to total 56.5. Public money on the Mountaineers here. But the Mountaineers, I tell you, they're both coming off bad losses, but the Mountaineers 15-5 ATS in the home games as a host, so their last 20. So I think this kind of sets up pretty well for them to bounce back but I can't play them. I'm going under 56.5 in this one. Kansas, a better defense than it has an offense this year, if you can believe that. Let's skip on down to Florida and Mississippi State. It'll be the Gators -6 on the road. The total 59. Insanity that the Florida Gators are laying points against anybody. If they were playing Midland Trail tonight like Central is, they would not be laying points. So we're going with Mississippi State on a principle. Florida is horrendous, one of the worst teams that I've seen out of a Florida Gators squad in a long time. I'm going Mississippi State. I can't believe I'm saying that either, but I'll take the near touchdown with Mississippi State. Ohio at Kentucky. It'll be Kentucky -20 in the game, up from 17. Man, I would look into Ohio here. I don't have an official play on this game, but Kentucky coming off a hard-fought game that they probably should have won against the Georgia Bulldogs, and that can kind of stick with you if you lose a tight game like that. It can bleed over to the next week. So I'll be a little bit worried about the Kentucky Wildcats this week. Sorry, I dropped my phone there with my timer on it. Nonetheless, we roll on here. Bettor's Last Stand Show 101, taking you into the high school football action tonight on the Watchdog. All right, let's skip on down to another game that we have of interest. It'll be the USC Trojans and the Michigan Wolverines. The USC Trojans -5.5. The total 46.5. Public money on USC, which you can believe, as Michigan really struggled last couple of weeks. And then sharp money on the over here. So 46.5. You like that over? I couldn't get there. Michigan, another quarterback playing. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I'm going to stay away from this game. I just think Michigan's got a lot of kinks to work out before I can be backing them or playing the games over the total. Kent State at Penn State. Penn State coming off of a bye week. 49 is the spread here. Of course, the Nittany Lions laying it. 55.5 is the total. This reminds me of some of the high school games that I have to make lines for. I like the under in the game. I think Penn State gets it right on off or defense this time and holds Kent State without any scores. I may take a look at the Kent State team total under as well. All right, Buffalo Bulls in Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois -14. The total 43 there. Lean to Buffalo there. I think Northern Illinois maybe smelling themselves still after that Notre Dame game. So possible play on Buffalo. Georgia Tech at Louisville. This is probably going to be my best bet of the week. It'll be the Yellow Jackets catching 10.5 on the road. 57.5 is the total. Louisville has Notre Dame on deck next week. So you gotta take that into account. We talked about that last week about how these big games that they have on deck, sometimes these teams overlook. And I think that's a spot that you'll see Louisville overlooking. I think Louisville gets the win, maybe by a field goal. But I really like Georgia Tech. They've been pretty good this year so far, and I like them to perform well here at Louisville. Rutgers at Virginia Tech. It'll be the Hokies -3.5. The total 44.5. Sharp money on the under here. Virginia Tech opened 5.5 down to 3.5. Rutgers won this game last year. I like Rutgers, and I like under here. Rutgers, I think, wins this game. They're the better coach team, and they're just the better team, period. Probably being an ugly one. I wouldn't say this is going to be a great watch, but we'll go under in Virginia Tech and Rutgers, under 44.5, and I'll take the points with the Scarlet Knights. Arkansas at Auburn. Auburn -3, total 58.5. I like Pig Suey here. We'll go with the Razorbacks plus the 3. I think they're just a little bit better, and Auburn obviously hasn't been able to defend their home field very well. Miami of Ohio at Notre Dame. Notre Dame -28, total 43.5. A lot of public money on Notre Dame, as I mentioned earlier. It's a stay-away game for me. Memphis at Navy. Memphis comes in laying 9.5, 10. Now, I saw some 12.5s open up. So it's down a little bit. People are back in Navy. I'm on Navy too, but I can't let this get too low. 50.5 is the total. Memphis off a nice win against Florida State, although I don't know how good of a win that is. I really like Navy in the game, but I want to keep it around the 9.5 or 10. I don't want to go any lower than a touchdown, obviously. So keep an eye on that one, but we'll go with Navy plus the points against Memphis. Utah at Oklahoma State. Wow, Big 12 game of the year, in my opinion. Utah -2.5. You know, we picked Utah as our best bet of the year. Our college football win total game or bet of the year would be Utah over their 9.5 win total. I love the Utes to win the conference. I think it starts with this game on Saturday. Utah at Oklahoma State. Utah comes in with a little bit of a banged up quarterback, but now they're the 2.5-point road favorite, which is interesting. And the total is 54. Maybe an under. Don't love anything there, but I do like the Utes here. I think they win. I think they're just a little bit better, but it's always tough. Always tough going to Stillwater. But Oklahoma State, they got to get up off the mat, win or lose, because they got Kansas State. They are at Kansas State next week, so really tough stretch for the Cowboys. I do not expect them to win both of those games. And if they do, then they have a stranglehold on the Big 12. UTEP at Colorado State. Colorado State coming off that emotional defeat to Colorado. Just a lot of emotions in that game with the Deion Sanders stuff and the Shador. Oh, boy. Colorado State minus 9.5, the total 50. I'm on UTEP here. I think Colorado State struggles to get motivated for this game, and I like the Miners to hang in and possibly win the game. Cal Golden Bears, who we're very high on, they're at the Florida State Seminoles. Florida State again favored, minus 2, total 45. I get it. Cal's got to come all the way back out to the east to Tallahassee. I'm high on the Cal Bears, and this is a worry spot for me from when Miami goes out there in a few weeks. I think Cal's going to beat them. I hope not, but I think they will, and I think Cal can win this game here. Plus 110, I'll take the points and take Cal. Northwestern at Washington, 10.5 on the spread for the Washington Huskies at home. The total 43. Sharp money on the under in this game. I know Northwestern's an under team, but geez, 43 seems a little bit low to me for a team on the road at the Pac-12 school. I'll pass on it, though, overall. Florida Atlantic and UConn. Interesting one here. It's kind of a split. UConn minus 2.5, total 46. This opened Florida Atlantic as the favorite. So a big swing there. You got a 4.5 point swing. Florida Atlantic with some sharp money, which is weird. So you got to wonder if this is like the old Billy Walters head fake where you're driving the line one way so you can come and bet it another. Possibly could be here. So Sharp's getting in on Florida Atlantic now, plus the 2.5 after they opened at minus 2. So you got to wonder why that even moved. Moving down the list, Sam Houston. This was a line move that I wanted to mention. Sam Houston now open minus 13 against New Mexico State. They're now up to 16.5. So maybe some steam again on Sam Houston. The Bearcats seem to be a public darling. Tennessee at Oklahoma, 7:30 kick, an exciting one there. Cousin Jake in action for the Sooners. It'll be the Sooners catching 7 at home. That doesn't happen very often. Total 57.5. Public all over Tennessee. I've liked Tennessee too. They've impressed me. I told you last week I thought they're better than I gave them credit for. Pretty good defense. Offense was able to do what it wanted, but they haven't played anybody. Winning an NC State is absolutely meaningless to me. Now, Oklahoma, on the other hand, hasn't left the state. So something's got to give here. But I like the under in this game, 57.5. I think both defenses come ready to play in that one. South Carolina, minus 28 against Akron. Total 45. I'm leaning Akron here. I'm going to take the points with the Zips on a hunch. South Carolina off of a tough loss last week. Minnesota hosting Iowa to be Iowa. Minus 2.5 on the road. 35.5 is the total. Some sharp money showing up on PJ Fleck in the Golden Gophers. And the Gophers are on a 5-0 and 41-18 straight up run. So that's pretty strong for me. I'll be taking it, and I will take a shot with the Gophers to not just cover the spread, but to win this game outright. So a little money line action for the Gophers on Saturday evening. Michigan State at Boston College. It'll be BC minus 6.5. The total 45. Michigan State plays Ohio State next week. They host Ohio State. I like BC here. Much better team, much better program status right now. And like I say, Michigan State, if they think that they're any good at all, and they may be thinking about Ohio State a tad, which they should never be overlooking anybody as bad as they are. But we're going to go with a shot, and we're going to go with BC minus a 6.5. As long as it stays under a touchdown, I'm cool with it. Ole Miss laying 35 against Georgia Southern. I can't do anything with that. Public all over Ole Miss. Baylor against Colorado. Public all over Colorado. Minus 2 at home. The total 54. I thought maybe the under here. Aranda's got his defense playing pretty well for Baylor, so we'll go under 54 in that one. Louisiana Monroe and Texas, public all over Texas, minus 44.5. Can't play that one. Purdue at Oregon State. Oregon State, minus 4.5. The total 50.5. Purdue humiliated. Oregon State humiliated. I'd probably lean Purdue here. Oregon State's got to feel pretty bad about getting embarrassed by their rivals, Oregon. But really bad game, Boilermakers and Beavers. And then the finale, K-State and BYU. As we said, K-State hosts Oklahoma State next week. Major look-ahead spot. They go to altitude to take on BYU. BYU catching 6.5 at home. Total 48. I'll be on the Cougars here. I think it's a tough place to play, and I liked what I've seen out of BYU so far. So we'll go with BYU in this one against K-State. All right, that's going to do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand, show 101, but don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Watchdog right now, and you should stay listening to The Watchdog all evening long, as you are going to be listening to Wheeling Park football, Wheeling Central football, and John Marshall football here on the Watchdog Network across the WKKX, WVOY, and WatchdogNetwork.com. Those are the places you want to be for all of the high school football action tonight. We get the pregame show coming up next. Again, thanks to Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club. Thanks to Bear and Bob and the good old boys for kicking off our Football Fridays. Today, we were out at Gumby's in Elm Grove for another successful Football Friday show for the Pine Room on the Watchdog. And now it was Bettor's Last Stand for an hour, and now it's pregame show time. So coming up just after the 6 o'clock hour to be the pregame show live from the Watchdog studio, myself along with Jeff, Chris, and Jubb. We will get you ready for Wheeling Park at University, Wheeling Central at Midland Trail, and John Marshall at Washington. It's a great night of high school football here in the Ohio Valley. Stay with us all evening long. We'll have the halftime show, the Semper Fi Paving halftime show. We'll bring you up-to-date scores from out of town, up and down the river, as well as college football and pro football action. Well, actually, no pro football action. College football and pro baseball action, that is, on a Friday night. So enjoy your rest of your Friday evening and have a great and wonderful weekend. Best of luck in your wagering. And don't go anywhere. High school football is next here on the Watchdog, presented by Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club. We'll be right back in a moment with the pregame show, getting you ready for high school football action on the Watchdog Network. Have a great evening.